Hey there, Sci Guys. My name is Courtney. In today's video, we will be discussing scientific inquiry. It's basically the same thing as the scientific method. The scientific method is a process that scientists use for experimentation that is used to explore observations and answer questions. However, you do not have to be a scientist to use the scientific method. People like you and me can use it too. The scientific method is composed of steps such as question, research, hypothesis, experiment, test hypothesis, draw conclusions, and report. Our question for this video will be, will the water mix regardless of which one is on top? And my hypothesis is that the water will mix no matter which one is on top. For this video, you will need 2 glass jars that are approximately the same size. You will need a suction device that is plastic, a pan, 1 spoon, 1 thing of red food dye, and 1 thing of blue food dye. You will need to fill up 1 jar with 1 cup with cold water and 1 cup with hot water. Fill them all the way to the top. Take your blue food dye and put it into the cold water. Just a couple drops should do. Take your red food dye and put it into the hot water. Once again, just a little bit should suffice. Once you have the food dye in, take the spoon and mix both waters until the food dye is almost completely dissolved and it is just a water solution. Now let's experiment and test our hypothesis. Take the cold water and place it in the pan. Take your suction device and put it on top. Slowly and carefully flip the cold water over, and if it works correctly, your suction device should be stuck to the cup. Now take your hot water, place it in the pan, and then set the cold water on top of the hot water. Now this is where it gets a little tricky, and you're going to want to make sure you do this step carefully. You may need to bring in someone to help you do this step. As I did, I got my mother to help me. Slowly and carefully pull the suction device from between the 2 glasses. As you're doing this, be super careful and make sure all edges are lined up, because if they aren't, the water could spill out and the experiment could not be correct. As you pull the suction device out, you see that with the cold water on top, the solution mixes almost instantaneously. It forms a dark black color, or you could say dark purple. Now let's retry with putting the hot water on the top. Take your hot water, put it in the pan, put your suction device on top, and then slowly flip the hot water over. Once again, if this works correctly, your suction device should be stuck to the hot water. Take your cold water, place it in the pan, and then set the hot water on top of the cold water. Now this is where you have to be super careful once again when removing the suction device. You may need to bring in help. Slowly remove the suction device, and once again make sure all edges stay lined up, or it could create an issue with the experiment. Once all edges are lined up, slowly pull the suction device from between the 2 jars. As you can see here, when the hot water is on top, the 2 solutions do not mix. The hot stays on top and the cold stays on bottom. Now, you may be thinking, how is this possible? I have the answer, and it's pretty simple. The hot water is slightly less dense than the cold water. So when the hot water is on top, it stays on top. The cold water is more dense, so when on top, it sinks to the bottom and causes the 2 to mix. So the conclusion is that when the hot water is on top, it will not mix, and the hot water will stay on top. This is because the cold water is more dense, so when it is on the top, it sinks through all the gaps between the molecules in the hot water.